you can call a white person any racial slur, nobody gives a fuck. And he's like, he just said Goomba. There's no uproar. If he was like, oh yeah, you N-word, and it's like, whoa, or you wetback, you spick, you chink, whatever. It's like, whoa, like this is real bad. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the DP podcast. And today, my guest is none other than my girlfriend, Camila Freire. And we actually talk about how she got into working with Disney as a cast member, that whole process of how she even got to that point. We talk about her actually getting laid off because of COVID, as well as talking about how we met. And we get into our opinions on some shows, some movies, and much, much more. So without further ado, let's start the show.
And the lords of the underworld, darkness fills my heart with pain. And when girls start to sleep with girls, this love will rise again.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the DP podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Pinto, and joining me today is ex-cast member at Disneyland, also my girlfriend. Her name's Camila Freire.
Hello.
What's up, Cammy?
Sup.
Something that I wanted to talk to you about is just how you got into the whole Disney craze and how you ended up working for Disney.
Disney craze in terms of like why I love it so much?
Like what sparked your interest in it? What made you be like, oh, you know what? I want to pursue a career working for Disney in whatever facet it may be.
Oh, okay. I think it started with my parents and especially my mom because she was always a big fan when I was a kid. And like just growing up, we always watched like Disney movies and like just something about it. After I would watch Disney movies, I think I'd just be super interested, be like, oh, who like made these movies? Who was like the creator? And it was Walt Disney. So like my mom would buy books about it. And then the more I read about Walt Disney, like the more I fell in love with Disney. And like throughout the years when I was younger, like I knew that I wanted to work for Disney. So like when I was 12, I was like Googling like how old do you have to be to work for Disney and stuff. And so I found this thing called a college program, the Disney College Program. And it said you had to be 18 to apply. So like I waited a few years.
Yeah, but what does that exactly entail? Sorry to interrupt. But what was the Disney College Program? Like what were their prerequisites?
So like the Disney College Program is pretty much an internship. So what you do, you can either do it here in California or in Florida. And you work for the company, you take classes, and it could also count as a college credit. So it's just a really cool internship, pretty much.
Okay. And so when you were 12, you were like, okay, I'm dead set on doing this.
100%. Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, this is a dream. I have to do it. Because like, not only do you work for Disney, but you take like Disney classes where they teach you stuff like leadership, how to do shows, how the company works, finance and stuff. So they really taught you a lot. So it was a really cool and inclusive internship.
So from 12 to 18, were you just dead set, okay, I'm going to work my ass off to get to this point? Or was it just like in the back of your mind? Like what were those formative years for you?
It was actually just like at the back of my mind. Like it was never like, oh my God, I'm going to do it. It was just
Make sure you keep your mouth close to the mic.
How about now?
Yeah.
Okay. So it was just like always like at the back of my mind, just like, oh, like I'll do that one day. And then after high school, I got like super, super sad. So like I kind of put that away. And then once I started to get good grades in school and stuff, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to try out for it. And I got it after the first try, which isn't always the case for some people. So.
How old were you when you got it?
I was 21.
Okay.
I was 21.
And what was the application process like?
There were a few steps because first you have to send in the application, and once you send in the application, they're like, okay, we want to do a web interview. So then you just kind of like, they'll be like random questions like, oh, like, what will you do if like a guest bothers you, blah, blah, blah. And then you just kind of have to answer those. And after the web interview, you get a phone interview. And then from there, they let you know if you got it or not.
Oh, okay. And what were you doing in the 3 years after high school? Like, why did it take a little longer for you to apply for that?
I mean, I was just like in college, but like
community college? Or?
Yeah. Like
okay.
I knew what I wanted to do, but I wasn't really motivated. I was just kind of going to college because I had to go. And like I was doing so bad that I actually got kicked out. And then after that, I'm like, oh my God, I need to kind of like rethink my life. I need to like really do something for myself. So I kind of cleaned up my act and like I got reaccepted to school, and I got like amazing grades. So after that, I'm like, okay, let's do the Disney thing.
What was causing the downhill spiral, or just not downhill, but just you not wanting to put in all the effort because you were already going to school, and I was like, oh, well, now I'm doing Disney, and now that's motivating. Or what made you have that change, and what was causing it?
I think it was just my mental health. Like, I've never really been one to be like, oh, like, I'm so successful, I'm gonna be super successful. I think I just kind of put myself down, so I'm just like, why even try, you know? But after I got kicked out, I'm like, oh my God, this is the result of me not trying. So after that, everything changed.
It was like a wake-up call.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. And so how long was the internship, and what was it like?
So my internship, I did it for 8 months, from the end of January to August. So it was honestly one of the best experiences I've had. Like, it sounds super cliche, but it was like a dream come true and stuff. And like, you kind of form your own family. So not only do you form your own family, you work and you learn like these awesome work ethics, and you learn a lot about the company and a lot about yourself, because like, you've traveled overseas and by yourself. Like, that's a huge challenge, like being by yourself, and it just
I was too
opens your
retarded
mind.
to figure. I really didn't
Stop
care.
it.
I really didn't. Trust me, it didn't hit me like that.
Really?
No, never. Like, when I was overseas, I was like, I don't give a fuck. I just want to get better at guitar.
Really?
Yeah, you can ask anybody who was on the gig with me. They'll tell you that yeah, like, we had a meeting when I was overseas. Sorry to interrupt your story, but just to say, like, I had a meeting where I was just like, oh, like, what's your goal? Like, our music director said, what's everybody's goal? And mine was just, I just want to get better. And
I mean, that's a good goal, but you didn't feel like you were learning stuff about yourself?
No.
No.
No. I don't
so
think I started
funny.
learning things about myself until after. And
When you got back?
Yeah, because I wasn't processing it. I was just like, I was just doing everything. You
were
know?
just having fun.
Yeah. No, not even having fun. I was just going through the motion of it.
Huh, how interesting.
Yeah, I was like on autopilot, I guess. I was just like, I don't
That's
care.
kind of
Like,
sad.
yeah, I was just like, whatever. Yeah. It was
How
just,
interesting.
Yeah, it was whatever to me. So I think I learned
No.
more about myself after.
Huh, no, my experience was so different when I left. Yeah. Maybe because, I mean, was yours, did you feel like it was challenging when you left? Because for me, it was
No.
totally challenging
No,
when I left.
I was ready.
Well, I mean, I was ready too, but like, it was a
No.
huge challenge.
We have to remember, like, January, like, first I get a call saying, hey, you're not coming overseas. And then the next day they're like, hey, oh, you're going overseas. And I had like literally 20 days to get ready. So I was just worried about having the music down and playing my best. I wasn't worried about leaving or anything, or I knew, like, hey, I'm gonna have a hotel, I'm gonna have food. Like, I wasn't tripping about anything. I was gonna get paid, so I'm like, hey, I'm getting paid to play guitar, to practice.
Maybe because I waited so long for that it was like, it's actually happening, you know? Oh, how interesting.
Yeah, I think I'm just kind of naive and oblivious to things.
I think you barely have emotions.
Yeah, maybe.
How interesting.
But so, what did you learn about yourself and everything? Let's start where we left off with you while you were doing the internship. And where was this internship, by the way?
In Florida.
In Florida. And
In
where
Walt
exactly?
Disney World. At
Okay,
Epcot.
well,
My
right in the heart of
place.
it.
My
Well-
favorite place. Figment. Shout out to Figment. But what did I learn? I mean, I learned a lot about myself because like it was the first time I was kind of by myself. So I learned that I like to party a lot, and that people are pretty cool. I think that's when I kind of really became a people's person because like I learned about a ton of people from around the world, and like you don't realize how big the world is until you kind of see it, if that makes sense. Because like we're just kind of sheltered. We're here in California, and like I thought it was diverse. It's not that diverse, you know. But yeah, I learned like I love to adventure. I love to kind of go out, but I love to learn too, if that makes sense. Like, yeah, you just learn so much when you're just kind of on your own because you have no other choice but to grow within yourself, you know?
No, I don't. Please explain. You can't just keep saying you know because I'm like, at a certain point you lose me.
Well, like, so like right at the beginning, I was having issues because like I was super homesick. Like it was the first time I was away from my family. And I was like super sad like the first 2 months. And not luckily, but my roommate was also from California, Angie. And like we were both just it was like a first time experience for both of us. So like I kind of found comfort with her. Like one time I found her in a room just kind of crying, and I'm like, dude, what's wrong? And she's like, no, I'm just homesick. And I'm like, oh my God, me too. And all we did was go and watch a show, and that already for me was growth. It's like, okay, you can't just wallow around and just be sad, like you have to do something for yourself,
Yeah, I mean, I've never been homesick really, except for just missing America, because I'm originally from Bakersfield. So when I left at 18, I was like, fuck Bakersfield. Like, I was not homesick. I was like, fuck this place. I don't ever want to come back.
Dang.
So to me, it was just like anything's better than Bakersfield as long as I'm not there.
Your experience was so different from mine.
Yeah. So
It's
for
so
me,
funny.
yeah. So I didn't I would miss America, as in like, hey man, I miss being able to say what I want to say. I miss being able to do like just hang with my friends in America. Like it's just a different vibe. I miss Mexican food, like those types of things when I'm
Yeah.
overseas, or even when I was living in Hollywood for Musicians Institute, I was not homesick. I was like, yo, this is awesome. Because
That's so crazy to me. I mean, I was like, after my family, because they came to visit me after 2 months I was there. And after that, I was literally smooth sailing. Like, I did not miss home at all.
Because it reminded you what you hated. No, just kidding.
Whoa, calm down.
You're like,
calm
damn.
down.
Like your mom was already like, and you're like, oh, no.
No. I think it was just like a breather, like, oh my gosh, they're here. I'm fine. I'm going to be okay.
Yeah, no, I never had that.
How interesting.
Never.
You're so interesting, Daniel. Like, so interesting.
Well, I'm like, yeah, I just don't understand how people go through that, because I'm like, I don't get it.
I think it's also, like, for me, it was kind of weird going to a place that I knew almost absolutely nothing about. I had no one there. Like, I had to go and make my own family, make my own friends, and, like, figure it out all on my own. Like, I had no one to lean on, So that was a little scary, and it was a little, like, I had to force myself to do all of that. So I think that's why I did get homesick, because there's no familiarity, So like,
yeah, there's nobody you're really out in the cut by yourself.
Exactly. None of my friends, no nothing. So it was at the beginning it was a huge challenge, but then once you kind of force yourself into it and you're like, okay, I'm going to be okay. Let other people in, let me explore and all of that. It was smooth sailing. Like, I met awesome people on the program, people that I still talk to.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and
really
was this a
beneficial.
paid internship while you were doing it?
Yes. Yeah. So they pay you while you work.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then the classes you take is free. I mean, they're included with the payments you make for the apartment. But other than that, yeah, you don't have to really pay for anything.
And so when you finish this internship, what do you get out of it in the end? If they were to like you, or you succeed in whatever facet it may be that qualifies.
I mean, at that point, it's kind of up to you, because you can apply for other internships and you can say like, hey, I already did an internship, so like I should qualify for another one. Or you can also stay there if you want to. So that really varies on you. I decided to come back so I can finish my AA, because that's what they told me. All my teachers told me. They're like, hey, Disney will always be here, but if you want a serious job, you actually have to get a degree and stuff. So I came back.
Okay, so you went back to school.
Yes. Well, I was in the middle of school, so I took a break to do this internship.
Okay. And so had you just finished your first year of college, or what was?
No, it was like my third year in college. Yeah, because I went when I was 21 and I started college when I was 18.
And what was it like being in Florida? Because, there's so many memes about Floridians and how crazy they are. They say like Florida is its own country, and people are crazy out there. I mean, that's where you hear like stories of like people eating bath salt and eating people, and they're like, oh, they're zombies. Or you see like the guy holding the American flag outdoors with the swimsuit, like while a hurricane's going. You just see crazy
that
stuff.
Like, they're so weird. Like, it's literally its own world. Like, I remember the first time I went out, like, I was drinking and having fun, and like I met this dude, and I was like, oh yeah, I love Disney. He's like, oh, you love Disney? So he lifts up his shirt, and it's this huge dopey tattoo, and I'm like, why? Like, why? Like, and then that night I ended up like going with him, and it was in a trailer park, and I'm like, this is so Florida. Like, It was horrible. Oh man.
It was horrible or exciting in the new adventure?
I was like, what is going on? Because at the end we did our thing, and he was like crying over his ex, and I was crying over my ex. So it was a weird experience. It was so Florida.
Jeez.
And that's just one. This other time when me and my friends, we went to Wawa, we were all like super
And
drunk.
what's Wawa for the West Coast people that are listening?
Wawa is like imagine a gas station mixed with a 7-Eleven mixed with like a Walmart. It's super weird. Like, it was so weird. But like, we go in and there's this dude with a snake, and we're like, oh my god, a dude with a snake. And he heard us, so he's like, you want to hold a snake? And I'm like, I guess. And we're just drunk there fucking holding a snake. You don't do that here. You only do that in Florida. Like, it's just so weird.
Yeah, you don't do that here, no. And especially for someone to be so friendly, like, oh, you want to hold it? It's he doesn't bite.
Yeah.
Or
oh my
strangle.
gosh, it was so weird. It was so weird. No, Florida's something else. It's just weird. Like, you have to go and experience it. Like, it's I can't even explain it. It's just so ghetto when it's not, but like, it's safe, but it's not. It's just weird. It's just weird.
And so, how long? So after your internship, did you just go back to California and finish the rest of your AA degree or whatever you were doing?
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. So I got back and I went to finish my AA, and then after I finished, I went to film school. So I was kind of really on track to film school pretty much, because that was like my goal from like the start.
Okay. And like your goal was just to make films, or what exactly was it? Like, oh, I want to go do film, but what?
At the time, it was to direct film. And then I went to film school and I'm like, I don't think I want to direct anymore. So that's when I started getting more into audio and stuff because of film school. So then I kind of changed track. But then at the time, I kind of overworked myself, and I was doing like 20 units of class and internship plus working like 30 to 35 hours. So then I left to go back to Florida.
So why'd you go back to Florida?
Honestly, it was kind of like an escape because I was just doing so much that I was like, you know what, I need a break. So I went to Florida for like 3 months.
Why were you overworking yourself in the first place?
Because I thought I can do it. Like,
I mean, that's a good mentality to have. But
yeah, I think just because like I was on a roll, so I did so well the previous semester. So I'm like, let's ump it up. But I umped it up too much. Because I was working the internship that I was working on. It was on set for Hallmark movies, and I would be working 12, 13 hours for free, you know. Plus, I needed to go to work too, so it was a lot.
And what were you doing working on Hallmark movies?
I was a PA. It wasn't fun.
Yeah, well, what did that entail? Being a personal assistant for those who
pretty
don't know what a PA
much
is?
like it's a production assistant, and all you do is like
assistant.
Get coffee for people. I had to like get cables, get TV monitors, and you just stand around all day just waiting for someone to call you. Like, it's horrible. It sucks. And especially kind of like,
was the pay decent though? At least.
Yes. Like this one time I worked on the set of Ted, the second one, and for 3 days I got paid like $500 for 3 days. Like, it was insane. I felt like a king. So the pay's like, decent, but like when I was doing it, it was just an internship and it was for free, so I didn't get paid. Yeah.
No, that's interesting. But then so you went after so were you doing the Hallmark movies in Florida or in California?
Oh, no, over here when I was at film school.
Thinking. Yeah. So then after you did all of that, you're like, I'm going to go back to Florida and do another internship? Yeah,
pretty much. So they also have this other internship where people who already did it can come back just for the summer, which is what I did. So that was kind of my excuse to go and escape and party and do nothing.
Okay, so you just use it as an escape to like party and do...
Yeah, because like I was really overworking myself, and I kind of got a little jaded working on those Hallmark movies because like no one on that set was there for quality. Like, no one was there like, oh, let's make a movie. Everyone was there just for a paycheck, and I was like, I don't want to work in this environment, you know? So, and you have to kiss so much ass. Like, it's so annoying. So, like...
Welcome to entertainment.
It's so annoying, though, you know? And, like, you don't know people's true intentions. Like, there was someone who was there, another PA, and I thought he was, like, helping me out. Turns out he just wanted a date, so it's just, like...
Welcome to entertainment.
It wasn't fun. It's not fun. He was a weirdo, too.
But that didn't dissuade you from wanting to do that entertainment?
No, because there were so many people who've been doing that for years, and I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to be that person who's just kind of jaded and kind of hates their life, and they're like, oh, I'm just here for a paycheck, you know? It almost seemed like there was no purpose for them. Like, it was kind of sad.
Yeah.
Like, it...
Hey, welcome to entertainment. Like I said, like that's what it is.
But it's
that's
not
what
fun,
it is.
You know? Like,
you gotta suffer in this entertainment business.
But that much, like, everyone was suffering. It was a Hallmark movie. Like, everyone was suffering.
Yeah, I mean, it's just what it is. You gotta suffer. You want to get to the top. Life is suffering. It's what you do with that suffering that separates.
Some of those people were
women.
like, "What?
Life is suffering. It's what you do with that suffering that separates the men from the women."
I don't like that. Don't like that.
Too bad. For those listening, I hope they understand what I'm saying.
Nope.
But so then, when you were with Florida, uh, did you get a job at Disney right after that internship, or when did that come about? And how old were you at this time when you did your second internship?
When I went back to Florida, that was 2 years after, so I was 24. And at that point, what was cool about that internship, because it was only during the summer, I worked at a water park and I hated it with all my guts. It kind of showed me what kind of leader I wanted to be in the future if I were to be a leader. And like, just because like they did not take care of you, like you were just another number, and it kind of sucked. So after that, I almost didn't want to work for Disney anymore because it was that bad. So I came back with kind of like another goal to just not be like those people anymore, and just to really strive for a goal and not treat people like shit, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So then afterwards, I kept going to school, and then I decided to apply for the internship here in California because the one here is a lot harder to get. And I got it. And then I moved over to Anaheim, and everything
What
changed.
makes it harder?
It's only 300 people, whereas the one in Florida, they accept like 2,000 to 3,000 a semester, maybe.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That makes sense. But I mean, I'm sure like your experience and you had done it. They're like, okay, well, we'll take this person.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And what did you get out of the experience going to California? I mean, going to Disneyland.
Oh, it was so different. Like, like no one was here to have a good time. Everyone was like so serious. Like their good time was watching a movie, and I'm like, no, like let's go out, let's go meet people. You know, like it was so different. And I mean, the cool thing about the one here is that it's very focused on your career. So I got to network a lot, and I got to meet some cool Imagineers and stuff, which is so different from the one over there. Over there, you're just working and just kind of learning. Here, you're actually working towards a career. So it was super different.
Okay. And then, so when you finished that, is there no job opportunity after that, or what's going on? Were you like, where were you in your life once you finished that internship? Like, what's the next step in your life that you were thinking?
So the one over here is kind of different. So like the one in Florida, you just kind of continue working. The one over here, once the internship ends, you kind of start fresh as a cast member. So you start from zero in terms of like where you are on the, not on the list, but like seniority, on the list of seniority. So you're right back to the bottom. So I decided to pursue more of a career with Disney. So I kind of just stayed out there, and it didn't work out.
Well, I mean, so what happened?
Well, I got laid off.
What was
it a few weeks
what was
ago?
the process?
And for like
what led up to you being laid off? Like what like, so you got the job, you're working at Disney. What attractions were you working? What were you doing?
Oh, so like at Disney, I was working at Luigi's Rollickin' Roadsters, which was okay, just because the management kind of sucked. And then I ended up going to Monsters, Inc. once my internship ended. I went to Monsters, Inc. and I started working at shows, which was so awesome. And it's kind of weird because like everyone at work was just like, you're going to hate doing the shows. You're going to hate doing the shows. It wasn't that bad. It's just because you have to do more work. That's it. Mm-hmm. And it was a lot of fun because you get to learn more about the guests, because you're not just pressing buttons. You're actually helping the guest out in terms of their needs.
And what's the training process like at Disney when you're working at an attraction?
So it depends on the attractions. So both of my attractions that I worked at, well, Luigi's was fairly simple. It was just kind of pressing the button.
Stop touching the mic. It's gonna keep falling.
Did I keep touching it? Oops.
Yeah, you keep touching it, moving it. Here, push that one. That right there.
Down?
Yeah. There we go. Perfect.
Got it.
All right. Sorry, what were you saying?
I was talking about Luigi's. Oh, and Monsters, Inc. So you just pretty much learn about the attraction, and then at the end of it, you take a test. And it's fairly simple. Like, anyone can do it. But there's a lot of technical stuff. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's just a lot of fun, you know? As long as you kind of care for the craft, it's a lot of fun.
Okay. So then you were like, how long were you working at Disney? Like, how old were you when you started working, and how old were you when you started working at Disney?
The one here, it was 2019. So I was 25.
Okay.
I was 25, yeah. And then I stopped working technically December 31st, but my last shift was on March 13th, the day we closed, which was super weird. It was a weird day.
Because of COVID.
Yeah, because no one knew what was going on. Like, I remember that day because typically we scan tickets at the show.
Sounds like you had a lot of retarded people if they didn't realize, like, hey, Xinjiang, China, this has been going on. They talked about it in January.
Well, I didn't take it seriously. Like I told you, I thought everyone was kind of exaggerating. I'm like, bullshit, this isn't going to be like a thing. No, it's a thing.
Yeah, I mean,
As we're here locked up, just watching movies.
were you not watching anything like in China, seeing people in hazmat suits locking people up and welding them into their rooms to, to make sure they don't leave?
Yeah, but I never thought that was gonna be like my reality. I thought that was just gonna like stay there and like not touch us.
Oh man, it only takes one person.
I
Yeah,
know.
I remember the first case was in Orange County.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
for California, yeah, was in Orange County.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
No wonder we shut down.
Yeah, and that's and I mean, I remember reading that. And I
Yeah.
was like, and that was because that was in February,
Yeah.
right when right when I moved here to Reseda.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I saw that and I said, oh well, guess what? Like shit's about to go down.
We're fucked.
Shit's about to go down.
No, for me, things didn't get serious until I saw the gates of Disney closed. And that's when it was like, oh shit, this is going to be a real thing.
Well, I was following the news, because I think January 28th, like Trump was talking about, hey, we got to close any planes from coming, or not let any planes come in. And then he was getting called a xenophobe for not letting people in, or for wanting to not let planes from China come in. Which I mean, hey, they ended up coming in.
Look at that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think Joe Biden, no, he did send Trump an apology saying like, hey, you were right, we should have closed everything down sooner and all this other stuff.
That's nice of him.
Yeah. Well, I hope he wrote it. I mean, with the amount of dementia and all the things going on, I hope he actually wrote it, not some young intern.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, right.
But anyways, that's interesting. So then you were just in limbo then, and did you think your job was gonna come back, or what was?
I did. I was like, because I remember, so like, once the pandemic hit and like everything closed, I'm like, oh, whatever, like it's probably gonna be a few months, but then I'll be back to my job. And I remember my sister's friends, because my sisters work at Universal. My sister's friends, they were all getting laid off, and I'm like, yo, that sucks. Haha, imagine if I got laid off. Oh, that's not gonna happen. And then I got laid off, and like, I honestly didn't think that was gonna happen, and it was just kind of eye-opening that you never know.
Wait, so
what
at what
happened.
point were you saying, oh, I'm not gonna get laid off, or was it when they announced like, oh, 28,000? Because for the people listening, they announced maybe in October, like.
Yes.
It
was October.
Yeah, they announced 28,000 employees were going to get laid off between Disneyland and Disney World.
Yeah.
And I think
then-
an extra 4,000 also later.
Yeah, in total right now it's 32,000. But over the summer, I really didn't think I was going to get laid off. Like, it never really crossed my mind until they made that announcement. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting laid off. Because at that point, no one knew who was going to get laid off. And I knew, because like I told you earlier before.
Seniority?
Yeah, I was at the bottom of the list. So I knew I was going to happen. And then you were here with me. So you saw the small, like, as more updates came in, it was more sure that I was going to get laid off.
Yeah, I mean, I knew what was going to happen. I just don't say anything. I'm like, yo, I don't need to make her feel any worse. And
Well, the day I found out, I was like crying and stuff. So like, I mean, I knew, but it's just kind of sucky, So the pandemic was really weird. I mean, from the start of March to like maybe the end of 2020, it was just a weird time, at least emotionally, because so much happened,
I mean, not for me. I mean, my emotional stuff kind of happened during when George Floyd passed, or was murdered, I guess you could say,
Yeah.
or killed, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when that whole thing went down, that's when my mental stability went down, I guess, or I just like more depressed and like, oh, what am I gonna do? Because I'm like, okay, now there's gonna be all these people protesting, cases are gonna rise, and then people are saying, well, you can't get COVID if you're protesting. And I'm like, okay, well, let's look at whole Capitol Hill. Did anybody catch COVID? Because if they didn't, then you're right. But if they did, then maybe you're wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's just all this crazy stuff going on. But once I saw that, I was like, okay, because I thought, okay, this COVID thing's probably gonna last until June, because we'll stay inside and everything. And once George Floyd happened, it's like, well, we're not staying inside anymore. This isn't, because we were doing well with the cases, and then once that happened, everything started to skyrocket.
Yeah.
And once you take the genie out of the lamp, it's hard to put him back in.
You're right. Yeah.
So that's when I was like, okay, like I knew 2020 was over once COVID hit.
Yeah, it was kind of a poop. I mean, I started to learn that as the months kind of went by, where it's just like, oh, it's another month, it's another month. That's why I kept the lease to my apartment, because I just got that apartment in February, and we stopped working in March. And me and my roommates were all just like, oh, I mean, we're going to start working again next month. Oh, the next month. And like, we never canceled it, because we really thought we were going to just go back to work the next month. So it was a huge emotional roller coaster, at least for me, from like the start to the end of it.
And Disney's not doing well. I mean, no business is doing well. And then right now, I mean, who knows? There may be more lockdowns. Looks like California is very eager to keep things shut down. As of this recording.
Well, it's just like, what are we gonna do? You know, like I think at least some people are trying to do the best that they can, while others are just kind of winging it. You know, so it's just all weird. It's just a weird situation.
Yeah, it is. It is. But hey, the vaccine's out, and I think it's like Class A, Class B, and Class C. Right? A is like the frontline workers such as like nurses or people over 65, and then B is like people who own essential businesses or work in essential businesses, and then C would be everybody else.
I just want to get shot up so I can go to Disneyland. That's it. That's all I want.
Yeah, but will that be the end? Is the question.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Is we don't know.
I don't know.
But
this is all just weird. I mean, except when I met you, that was fun. That's
But-
when like things turned around a little bit.
But let's go back to the Disney thing before we get into that, because was it yesterday? They announced that the annual passes will not be.
Yeah, it was yesterday. Yeah. So I mean, I knew.
So wait, what exactly? So the annual passes, they're not going to do them anymore. You can't get an annual pass anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, they had a program where there were multiple annual passes.
Only for Disneyland or Disney World as well?
Just Disneyland. Just
Okay.
here. Yeah. Disney World's like, it's totally fine. But they've been talking already about kind of redoing the annual pass system just because there's so many of them. Like, there are more annual pass holders than regular day guests, you know?
Oh, I believe that, because all those annual pass holders also have fast passes, right?
No, you get fast passes when you go to the park.
But I mean, you know what I mean? If you're an annual pass holder, you have a fast pass, right?
No.
Oh,
Anyone who has a regular ticket gets a fast pass.
Oh, okay, because last time I went, which was October before it closed down.
Oh, I think you're talking about Max Pass. So Max Pass is an add-on system that you can pay to get your fast passes before you get to the park.
Well, I was just gonna say, because I would look at the fast pass line and the regular line. I'm like, they're the same fucking thing. Like, what am I doing here?
I mean, the fast pass line does go faster because that's the priority. Like, at least at attractions, that you have to like clear out the fast pass line. But yeah, it's a free system. It's the only place where it's still free technically, because Universal and Six Flags, you have to pay to get like that front of the line pass.
And so then you were saying about like, oh, things changed. So we actually, how we met was because of COVID. You can't go to a bar. You can't go out to meet somebody.
Yeah.
You know, and we ended up meeting through Tinder because, I mean, hey, how else? Which is funny because so many people, like when you look at their profile, it was like, oh, I'm not going to meet, or we can do Skype dates or whatever because of COVID.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, hey, I understand. You know,
Which was my thing too.
I'm trying to get my dick wet, you know?
Shut up.
So I'm like, yo,
Stop
I don't
it.
care. I'll catch COVID. Like, I've caught worse, so I don't care.
Well, that was our thing because our first date was like over Skype, I guess, technically, kind of.
Well, we just had a conversation over Skype. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I had I listened to a lot of podcasts, and one of them was talking about like, oh yeah, we like it was I believe it was the Church of What's Happening Now with Joey Diaz, and the guest was Kate Quigley, and she was talking about how she really met this dude that she really liked, and they had talked on Skype and stuff, because they had talked so much long distance. They really got to know each other before. It was just like, hey, first night we bang, we bone, you know, and it doesn't complicate things so early.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what happened with us because we were talking for like a month.
Yeah, about a month.
I think so. Yeah, and we were talking like constantly.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were pretty constant. I'm like, this weirdo. What does he want? It was something different.
Want to get my dick wet?
Shut up. Well, I mean, like, I wanted a relationship, so I'm like, oh, I guess I'll try now. So, yeah, I wanted a thing.
Why did you want one now at that time? Or at that time, why did you want it?
Just because, like, I mean, I've been like, I haven't had a serious relationship in a few years, so it was like, it was something, I guess, that I felt ready for. And so I think with everything being closed, it was just kind of like, I want to start a new chapter in my life, you know? So, yeah, and then I also, I guess, I mean, you know this, just like I was talking to my ex and stuff, and just like at one point it's like, this isn't fun. It's just a game. So I just kind of wanted to turn things around. Now I'm like, oh, let's just try this Tinder thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I got on Tinder because, I mean, that's the only way to meet girls. And I was like, to me, it was like, okay, well, I can talk to girls face to face, you know, at a bar or something. That's easy because I had done it so many times overseas. You know, I had a lot of practice. But through online, it's very difficult because you can't just say hey and then wait for the response. You know, you can't have a fluid conversation. You need to come in, you know, guns blazing.
Well, I think it also depends on the person on the other side. Because I've had conversations where it's like it's fun, but like you don't feel it, or you just kind of get bored, so you just kind of stop. So it's super. I think Tinder and like all those online stuff is kind of tricky because it's just trying to figure out who's cool and who's not.
Yeah, and I mean, how many people who would have been great together didn't because they just couldn't communicate through it.
Yeah, but then at the same time, it kind of weeds out kind of like all the people you don't want to be with. You know, if that makes sense. At least that's what I think.
I mean, I think probably more leaning towards what you're saying for sure. But I'm just saying, hey, there's probably cases where people who would have been good together didn't match or didn't, you know, because it's like, hey, it's just face value. Maybe they write terrible bios. They don't know how to write one.
Yeah, I see that.
Or all kinds. There's so many different factors when it comes into it that's like, damn. It's like now you caught something, you know, you got something on the fishing line.
Yeah. But see, I've done that where I've just kind of given someone a chance. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, they're okay to talk to. And then I've gone on a date and it was just horrible. Like, I think from Tinder, I went on maybe like 4 or 5 dates and each one of them were just like bad. Like they were boring. It wasn't fun. There was one person, like we ended up friends, but then like he got feelings and it didn't work out. But yeah, you were the only one that like actually kind of worked out from Tinder. But it was fun.
Interesting. Yeah. So then now like we're obviously like we're seeing each other a lot more and stuff, and some of the things we've been doing is just because of all the COVID time and just hanging out is just watching shows.
Yeah.
And I've been showing you shows and stuff like, you know, certain things that you may have never seen before or even thought about seeing, like we've been
like
watching
anime. Oh my god.
Oh, yeah,
anyone
Death
can
Note.
tell you just not me and anime just don't mix. People have tried it and I'm like, no.
Yeah, and for the people listening, if there's one anime I recommend that I'm like, hey, you don't like anime, it's like that's fine, but you should listen to or watch Death Note.
Death Note is so good. It's
that's
so
a
good.
really, really good anime. I'm like, hey, if you don't like anime, I'm like, I totally understand. You don't ever have to watch any of them except this one. This is actually just a work of art.
No, yeah, Death Note is actually really good. It has an awesome story arc. The animation's pretty cool. And the characters are really fun. They're all different.
Yeah, all the characters are very likable.
Yeah.
I mean, even the bad ones.
I was about to say,
bad
like,
as
even
in
the
evil
like
characters.
Yeah, you're just like, but what are they gonna do? But
Or
they're
the
so cool.
anti-heroes. Yeah, exactly. And then we've been watching Game of Thrones, and I've you know I watched it. I watched the season finale with like when it was coming out. You know, I started watching it after being overseas, after Abu Dhabi. So I was like around like season 6 had just finished when I started watching. So I caught up. So when season 7 came out, I started. There's 8 seasons for the people listening, and the first 4 seasons are great, and then the last 4 they just get like worse and worse.
I mean, we'll see. We're only on season 5 now, so
Yeah, and I mean, to
We'll
me,
see.
I'm like, there's already some. The thing is, there's enough good stuff to keep it afloat right now. You know.
Damn, I'm scared. I'm so curious because everyone talks about how bad the last episode was. So like, I'm just so curious. I'm so curious.
But something that's cool with because you know a lot about film and whatnot. I mean, I have not studied any of that. I don't know. I just can see like characters or an arc or something and say, oh, this is good, this is bad, in my opinion. But
I mean, I think you're pretty knowledgeable.
Yeah.
You're pretty good.
Well, we can talk enough to be like, oh yeah, this or that. Like, you know, there's things I noticed. Like we were watching Cobra Kai, for example, the new season. And what was funny was like, you know, I said, oh, hey, his lips aren't moving, but there's audio. You know, like I can point that type of stuff out. Or anything. You know, talking about Cobra Kai, sorry, side note. You know what was, because this is something, I think it's Cobra Kai season 3, episode 3. There's a part where these two guys, one of them's Italian, the other guy, I don't know if he's supposed to be Italian or some other thing.
I know what you're
They're talking, and he calls the Italian dude a Goomba, and the Goomba's like, hey man, I kind of take offense to that. And they kind of play it off as a joke, but I was just saying, you know, that's so funny because like, you know, like we had seen Tom Segura's special Disgraceful, where he talks about like, you can call a white person any racial slur, nobody gives a fuck. And he's like, he just said Goomba. There's no uproar. If he was like, oh yeah, you N-word, and it's like, whoa, or you wetback, you spick, you chink, whatever, it's like, whoa, like this is real bad. But you know, him calling him a Goomba, it doesn't matter. It's like, hey, it's
Even
all good.
I was like, oh, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. But I was the one that pointed it out. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
fucking, that's hilarious to me. You know, just seeing how Hollywood is like, oh, we can say that. And then what was funny in the same episode, they had something that I thought was pretty racist in a way. I mean, I really don't give a fuck. But it's just like, hey,
Apparently you do if you're talking about
well,
it.
I guess so. But you know, for the people listening, like, what's the one thing? Like, if you know Mexicans, what do they do to raise money? Like a fundraiser. Like when a family member dies, when a kid has cancer, what do they do? Car wash. And what did they do in that same episode? Car wash for a Mexican boy. Or what is
so
he
funny.
in that? Whatever race he is.
Is he Colombian? I think he's Colombian, but he's not Mexican.
Whatever. He's a dirty Mexican to me. I can say that. I'm
Stop
Mexican.
it.
I'm Mexican. I can say it.
No, he's not.
But
that was so funny just seeing your reaction, just like, ah.
well, what did you think of? Because I mean, I watch so many shows and I see things that are really, like, for example, season 1 of Cobra Kai. I was like, that's straight up an anime. Like, I thought it was really well done.
Mm-hmm.
But then season 2, I'm like, this does not feel the same. I don't like it. And then season 3, I'm like, this is worse. And they're dropping characters and they don't know where to write people. Like, one of the main characters, the son of, if you've seen Karate Kid, because Cobra Kai is based off of Karate Kid, like what happened 20 years later, 30 years later, right? And you know, he has a son, the blonde-haired guy who beats up what's
Miguel.
his name? John, no, LaRusso. What's his name?
Daniel
LaRusso.
It's literally your name.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's how much I care about it.
What's his name? Your name.
Oh yeah, my name. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Good. No.
Same situation,
I
Daniel
was
from
testing you.
Reseda.
I was testing you.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and I live in Reseda. I'm Daniel from Reseda. I'm a Karate Kid.
Literally, you
Yeah.
are.
But no, like the other guy, Johnny, who in the Karate Kid is like the villain, the blonde-haired guy. His son is like used absolutely not at all in season 3.
Yeah,
of
he
Cobra
just kind
Kai.
of pops out.
Yeah, and I mean like the another character, like the friend.
Oh my god.
The friend of the black girl that was the friend of Daniel
Samantha's
Samantha's friend.
Yeah.
Also, just like, hey, we're just gonna write her off. They just have like a one line where like she went to another school. It's like, oh well, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what happened because like the first season, I think it was so genius in terms of story. Like, yeah, the acting's a little corny, but in terms of story, it's so interesting because Johnny's kind of an anti-hero.
It's corny like an anime.
Oh.
100%. It feels exactly like an anime. Like, I've never seen a good live action anime, and Cobra Kai to me felt like it.
See, maybe if I watch it now, I'll see like anime stuff. But like when I first saw it, it was just another type of show, another show.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like the first season was pretty great. I really liked the first season. The second season I didn't mind. I think it was pretty fun too. But just like this last season was so corny, like so corny. I still like the story. The story was fun, but it's just like the acting was just kind of over the top. All the music cues were just kind of it was placed in the most corniest spot you can put it.
Do you think like just Hollywood just has an issue with just killing something off while it's good because they want to make more money? Because I mean, I look at Stranger Things. And I don't want to see the new season because I hated season 3. I didn't like season 2 was basically aliens. Like, you know, Alien, we're going to have one monster. Aliens, we're going to have a million of the same monster. And I did not like season 2. I'm like, how many times is this what's the mom's name?
Oh, the mom? That's a good question.
I don't know, but it's just it just spirals downhill. Or like shows like Westworld, which you haven't seen season 1. I know people who did not enjoy Westworld at all, but I really enjoyed season 1. And then season 2 is trash, and season 3 I hadn't seen because 2 was so bad, but apparently 3 is even worse.
I really want to watch that show.
And well, my thing is just I mean, I'm down to rewatch season 1. We have HBO for a few more months.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't understand how they can create gold and just turn it to shit. You know, I don't like Amy Schumer.
Oh, me either. Oh my god, I hate her. But
something she said, and I heard it from Theo Vaughn. Shout out to Theo Vaughn, one of my favorite comedians. Check him out. He said something that Amy Schumer said was, you know, give Comedy Central a gold brick, and they'll figure out a way to turn it into shit. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's with a lot of things. I think with like all these movies having sequels and just all these they just redo all these movies, all these remakes, and it's just why? You know, like the reason why we have all these classics is because at the time they came out with all these cool original ideas, and now what's original? Everything's just a remake, everything's just a superhero movie, and it's just there's nothing original. Well, it's so annoying.
Look at Mulan, right? Or I mean, not Mulan. Sorry, look at Disney is what I mean. Because they all their live action remakes. And I mean, I have like talking about superhero movies. I am sick and tired of them because I see the same. Because my thing is, I love a good story, and when I see this, I can see the story beats. Like I've said, oh, Iron Man, Ant-Man, Doctor Strange all have the same fucking story. It's the same fucking movie.
See,
You know,
I'm still entertained by that. I just wish there was more content.
I'm not at all. I fall asleep.
Oh, I love. But you haven't seen the last two Avengers movies. Like honestly, those were pretty big. Those were like an event.
Yeah, but I mean, like I had already. Because I watched so much YouTube. I had already seen before Avengers ever came out. Like I already knew that he was gonna get the gauntlet and snap his fingers, and half the cast was gonna die. But before the movie
But that's
even came
on
out,
you. That's for you looking it up. If you didn't,
no. Well, that's looking up the actual story. You know,
Yeah.
the source material.
But if you didn't, you could have gone to the movie with like a clear mind and been like, "Oh, what's this?" You know?
Yeah, but I knew. I was just like, hey, and it's Disney. Nobody's ever really dead. It's a superhero movie and it's Disney. Nobody's dead, you know?
I mean, the thing with Disney, I don't know what's going on because like all their live actions just like suck. The last live action, which I was telling you about, the really good one was Saving Mr. Banks, and I think it's because they put so much heart and so much soul in a film where Walt Disney was featured. So I think they really took care of that. But other than that, I'm just not. Just their live action. I don't know what's going on. Like I didn't even bother watching Mulan. And at first I was gonna watch it, but then the whole thing with the. Where they filmed it, and then the whole concentration camp.
Do you want to talk about that? They filmed in a western province. The name looks awfully similar to where I was in China, but I was in the northern, the biggest northern province, and this was more to the west. But they actually over there they have Muslim internment camps. And if anybody knows about that, it's like, hey, like Jewish internment camps that they had in Nazi Germany back in the 1940s, or Japanese internment camps, which we had in California.
Mm-hmm.
All kinds of things like this.
Yeah, and it's horrible because
Disney was thanking them and saying, "Oh, great job," and they got critiqued because it's like, "Hey, this is not okay," and you're basically saying, "Hey, thank you so much. Like, put it in my ass. I don't care."
Yeah, after they thanked them, after they filmed in the same city where all of that's done, and like my thing is just like. There's no way they didn't know. There's no way. Just like location scouts, there's at least 12 to 15 looking at places, doing their research. Like, oh, is this good enough to film? Let's see the people. Like, there's no way. And then all the paperwork you have to film, like, there's no way they didn't know. So I think that was so irresponsible of them to do it at a location where they have that, like, that's not okay. So, yeah, I don't know what's going on with them. I really don't.
They want to make money. I mean, let's move into Star Wars, talking about China, because they like because when I was in China, they're very racist, don't like black people, and case in point, look at the posters for those who don't know, for the newer Star Wars movies, there is a black character called Finn, and for all the Chinese promotion, they removed him, and anything having to do with I think they removed the lesbian kiss also from the last movie.
Yes, they removed of other stuff. I think in Finding Dory, they did the same thing.
Yeah, so because they're not tolerant of that, they don't want to accept that type of stuff. They're not, their government says, "Hey, this is not okay. This is not what we want to show." And Disney, instead of saying no, we have this intellectual property, we want to present it as we want, they're like, "Well, we want to make that money." And Star Wars is not popular in China. When I was in China, there was nothing Star Wars. They don't give a fuck about Star Wars.
Well, so then, why kind of obey to their kind of racist customs? Like, I don't think that's okay. I feel like Disney should have just been like, no, you know what? This is our movie. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't.
Why does LeBron support China and never talk shit about them? Because it makes money.
It's so sad. I don't like it.
Nobody gives a fuck until it starts fucking with your paycheck.
But even then, nothing's done out of passion anymore. Like, when Walt was alive and stuff, all of his projects were done out of passion and just out of, he knew it was going to make money. Oh, well, he didn't really know it was going to make money, but, that was, the last thing on his mind. The biggest thing was just quality, quality over quantity.
Well, I don't think the founding fathers expected Trump to be president. You know what I mean? It's
none of us did. I didn't expect
everything. I thought he was going to win. I mean,
really?
When you put him against Hillary Clinton, one of the most deplorable hated women in America, who when Gaddafi died was like, "Oh, we came, we saw, we killed him." It just which all the crazy shit. Her working along with Epstein. All these things, I'm like, yo, this is terrible. But I mean,
but people didn't really know about. I didn't really know about that.
I keep an eye on this. I remember talking about Pizzagate, when I was in Bahrain to Josh. Josh will tell you, and shout out to my boy Josh. But that I was telling him about Pizzagate. He's like, that's not real. That we would have known about this. And then years later, Epstein's Island.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, I'm like, hey, or Bohemian Grove, where the Republicans meet up once a year, and they like have a big owl, and they have like a sacrificial effigy that looks like a child, and it's
So weird.
And you see like famous people like freaking what's his name? You'll see what's that guy?
Was it
Clint
Bill-
Eastwood. You'll see
Oh,
Clint
okay.
Eastwood there. You'll see you see every president goes there. There's pictures of Ronald Reagan there, and
Bill
Alex,
Clinton was there too, right? I think
I
in that video. I don't know.
don't know about Bill Clinton, but I mean Bill Clinton was probably in Epstein's island. I mean Epstein had a big mural of him naked, like laying down, like, "Hey, you're my bitch."
That's so weird.
It's just like when I told you, like, my girlfriend bought like Cammy bought a Victoria's Secret like a week ago, right? And I was just like, oh, that the owner of Victoria's Secret gave Epstein his $1 million like condo home or like however like millions of dollar condo home in New York. And then now my girl's like looking at the underwear like, should I be wearing this?
They have good deals, babe.
And it feels good, It looks good, feels good. So hey, but you have all these things, and it's just funny to me because I'm like, I see all of this, and I just assume everybody else does too, and sometimes not necessarily.
Well, I think because you dig into it, and like you want to know more and more and more.
Yeah. Case in point, like Game of Thrones. Like, I know everything, or I've watched so many YouTube videos because I love YouTube. YouTube to me, because I'm like a YouTube baby, because when I was in junior high and high school, YouTube was. Like, that was the golden age of YouTube, where there was all this creative content. You had amazing people like iDubbbz. You won't know any iDubbbz, Filthy Frank. You had content creators that like animators like Ego Raptor, Oni NG. Just to name a few, you had all these different things that were just creating this original, really funny content that you would never see on television.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, wow, like, this is the Wild West. This is where it's at. Like that. So when something like The Hangover comes out and everybody's like, "This is the best thing ever," I'm like, "Bro, watch Filthy Frank. You don't even know what's funny."
But your comedy's just different. Like, it's just a different kind of comedy.
Yeah, I mean, like you watch Filthy Frank, where he does the rat chef, and he dresses up as like Guy Fieri, and he's looking for rats in dumpsters in New York, and then he like makes tacos out of them, and I'm like, this is hilarious to me. Like real dead. Like mice,
See, that's not my thing,
Yeah, or Eric Andre, I love that. I love the like if I can have a conversation with you and make the same joke I see in TV or something, or have that scenario happen, I don't care. I want to see something crazy.
You like crazy stuff, like ridiculous, crazy.
South Park, yeah.
Or South Park isn't that bad.
Yeah, South Park's really good. But that's just my kind of comedy. I like absurd.
Yeah. Well, you just like different stuff. Like, we both like super different stuff. Like, your comedy's very different than mine. Like, you were talking about Game of Thrones and like going on YouTube and looking it up. Like, what you like to watch like behind the scenes is my different kind of behind the scenes that I like to watch.
Mine's actually the lore and stuff. Your behind the scenes is like how they made the show. I'm like, I don't give a fuck how they made the show.
Oh my God, I love it. I love the technical stuff. It's so cool, babe. Like,
I mean,
so
no,
cool.
it is cool. Like, don't get me wrong, it is cool. But I care more about the story. I care more. Like I said, I'm more about the story.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, oh, I want to know about Robert's Rebellion. I want to know about exactly what happened and who fought who and what happened all here. Blah blah blah. And then like, oh, I want to know all the backstories for every character. I want to know all this because I really enjoy the world of it.
See, for me, what brings it to life is like how they brought it to life. Because seeing all that done is, I think, like, how my story comes about. Like, oh, they did that and that. Oh, it's so this character does that. I think for me, the technical stuff is what brings the character to life.
Not
if
to
that
me.
makes sense. I know we're very different in that aspect.
Yeah. But I like the acting and stuff, and it's very
The acting's
interesting when
great.
we watch Game of Thrones because I don't like any of the main characters
You don't?
in the
No.
show. All of my favorite characters are the side characters: Bronn, Jorah, Tywin Lannister.
But the same one, we like Jamie. We both like Jamie.
Yeah, but the show kind of destroys them.
Like, I like Jamie. I like Tyrion.
Well, when
and
we first started
Daenerys.
watching it, you said, "I don't like Jamie. Why you like him?"
Because he's a butthead. He's a little butt with his little hair and stuff.
And now you're like, "I like him."
Because he's cool. His arc is pretty cool.
Yeah. Except D&D, what is it? Dan and David Weinstein, whatever the fuck their names are. Fucking incompetent writers. And I didn't
Tell me how
realize
you
till-
really feel.
Yeah, well, I didn't see till later that like they just their previous work were just shitty movies like X-Men Origins and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just like, oh, this is just I don't know how they
Trash.
got entrusted with them. I'm like they got bamboozled.
Well, the thing is, they were interpreting someone else's work, so maybe they're just really good at interpreting. But like when it came to writing original content, is where they failed.
Yeah, and that's the problem, you know.
Yeah.
Is they can't without it, like having a complete guideline of what to do.
But
And
that's
then-
all of Hollywood. All the new movies you see now is again remakes, superhero movies that come from comics, or adapting a book to a film.
So what was like the last movie you've seen that you were like, man, this was a good movie? Like the last one that comes to my mind was Hacksaw Ridge, and that was Mel Gibson.
Oh, that was a good movie. I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know Mel Gibson, like I was like, oh, I'm very interested to see his movie. You know, I've liked his past movies. I mean, obviously we know about what happened in his past.
Yep.
But I'm like, hey, you know, everybody's got to eventually, you know, he repented. You know what I mean? It's like he went out in exile, I guess.
Yeah.
And I mean, hey, he served his time, and hey, I don't care. I'm gonna see what he says. You know, just like a Louis C.K. special, which I bought and watched. You know, I'm like, hey, he did something that wasn't chill and cool. He served his time. Like how long is enough before, you know, if you get canceled, you know, how long is it before you can come back? You know, is it just you're
I
gone
don't know.
forever? Or like Harvey Weinstein, obviously gone forever.
Well, he should be gone forever.
Yeah,
like,
obviously. But
he's
someone
done.
like Louis C.K., who had a more minor offense where he was actually asking for consent, but then you have these shitty comedians saying like, oh, well, I'm like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, you weren't complaining when he was making your career better.
I think it's definitely a case by case kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. Well, all I know is that if my career can skyrocket by sucking a guy's dick, I would do it.
Yeah, but it's different. It's like 100% different.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we can get into that later.
No, I mean, I understand. Trust me. I understand that. I'm just making some jokes.
I know you are.
But
Let's see, the last
that said, I
movie.
would suck. If there's any producers who are out there, they're like, yo, I'll put you in a movie. Like, yo.
I'm done with you. I'm done.
I'm ready.
Oh my god.
My body is ready.
Shut up.
That's actually a meme, a Nintendo meme.
Is it?
Yeah, Reggie. Shout out to Reggie.
Cool.
He was the like the head spokesperson for Nintendo of America.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But you know, another thing that you weren't into that you were starting to get appreciation, or I was starting to show you appreciation, was for video games, because you didn't really realize how deep of a story like video games can tell. And because to me, I'm like, yo, I love video games. I can tell you a good story. I mean, yeah, of course you want to have video games where you just have like a Mario, where it's like, hey, I'm not here for the deep plot of him trying to just save the princess from the castle.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just trying to have some fun.
Mm-hmm.
Versus, you know, games like The Last of Us Part 1, not Part 2, because that doesn't exist in my mind.
Well, like it wasn't like my parents were like, no, you can't play video games, because they bought us a ton of video games. Like we had the PS2, the Wii, PS3. It was just I would get bad motion sickness. Like I could only play 15 minutes and that's it. Now for some reason, like I don't get it. Like I don't get motion sickness at all.
Stop being a little bitch.
You need to calm down, homie. You need to calm down. Son of a bitch, stop. People are gonna think we're dysfunctional. Like, geez.
I mean, man, there's some crazy shit that goes down.
Oh lordy. Oh lordy.
Yeah. No, but I mean, yeah, I mean, it's just like it's different, and you see that.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to see that different media forms actually have a lot to offer that you may have not seen.
Yeah,
Just
and you
giving it
connect
a
with
chance.
people because, like, I was playing with your friends. Well, specifically Taylor, because you knew her before, and now we're like super chill and super cool. And yesterday I was playing with my friends Kathleen and Eliana, and we're gonna play again today. Like it forms like this cool community. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, when you're playing with them and stuff, and you're going through like adventures or what it may be. Like, let's say if you have a Lord of the Ring games, and like you can pick whatever character you want. Like at the PS2 Lord of the Ring games, it's like. Because I remember playing that with friends. Because I know you're a big Lord of the Rings fan. And it's like, oh, well, I'm going to play as Gandalf, and he's going to play as Gimli and whatever. And it's like you're playing through the movie with them. And it's like, hey, not only do you have a mutual respect for the movie and you enjoy it, but you're also going through the journey and playing the games. Like, oh, man, remember, like, this guy, like, you're getting attacked by people, and, like, he comes and saves you. And you're like, oh, shit. You know, it's just a lot more interactive. And that's what I love. I get more... I like to be in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like that's why I think I don't enjoy watching sports.
Yeah.
Because I'm not there. I want to do it. I don't want to like sit and watch. Not that I don't appreciate like
I just
seeing,
get bored.
Yeah. Well, no, I appreciate seeing people at the top of their level doing their thing, you know? Or if I'm betting or something, it makes it more exciting, but I'd rather be doing it.
Wow. So
Yeah.
you'd rather be playing like soccer or something instead of watching it?
Yeah. But except for fighting games, because I recently got into fighting games, and I
Like
love
watching it or
I
like
love
playing
watching. Yeah, I love watching like pro players play.
What? You didn't tell me this?
Yeah,
This is
yeah, no.
new?
You remember I was watching the Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Fighters.
Oh, I thought you meant
Um,
like real people fighting.
No, I said fighting games. No,
JK.
no. I love watching
I should have
fighting games.
known.
Yeah. No, because now that I understand how fighting games work, and I see the skill and like the chances and all of that, and I'm like, okay, I understand the frame. I understand all this. I understand what's going on with that game. Right? It's like, oh, like this is really, really entertaining to me because I'm seeing, like I said, with sports, like people at the top of their level, but I just find it way more exciting to me.
That's like the nerdiest thing I've ever seen you do. Just watching other people play.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
what are you doing? And you're there in the little corner, like, I love this.
Yeah, no. Seeing them like, yeah, well, I get off on it
I know.
for real. Like it's and it's a new development. Was never into fighting games
How
because they're
funny.
complicated. It's hard to get into because there's so much to go in. It's like, oh, what makes this character good versus that character? Because like to somebody else, it's like they're both doing the same thing. Like they can both punch, they can both kick, but it's like, oh, well, this one has like 11 frames for their 5L or whatever. And it's like, oh, and understanding the terminology and there's a whole community around it.
Yeah, but see, I still never got that, like, people watching other people play. Like, and that's with anything, either people playing or, like, seeing ride-throughs of theme park attractions or, like, reactions. I'm like, why would you watch that? Like,
I would
just
never
go
watch a
experience it.
reaction. I don't understand that. But I mean, watching like because I watch Oni Plays, who was an animator that I watched when I was a kid, who was Oni NG, but because of the YouTube algorithm, having to make longer videos makes more money than view counts. It's about how many minutes people are watching now. I love Oni Plays because they're funny. Like the people who are talking, like I don't even watch them play. I just listen to them. So to me, it's more of a podcast. You know, but I really enjoy them talking about whatever it may be, or you know whatever, like giving their opinions on a movie or a game or whatever sidetrack they get into. And to me,
Oh, see,
I just
that
love
too.
it.
You like watching that too. People do reviews, and I don't. Like,
Oh yeah, I do like watching
yeah.
reviews.
See,
Yeah,
I'd rather review it myself. Like, no.
well, it depends. It depends because sometimes there'll be something that I've already seen and I want somebody that I really, because the thing is,
you want to validate what you feel is what you want.
that I want to validate it, and also I love the person like Red Letter Media. For those, shout out to Red Letter Media. Their YouTube channel, they do like Half in the Bag where they review movies, and they're very in depth and know a lot, and I mean a lot of what they say I agree with. So I guess, like you said, it validates it, but also I like to hear it because sometimes they'll say things that I'm like, oh, I didn't think of it that way, or like that. I'm like, oh, interesting, you know, and then they'll give me a different perspective, or they'll say something. So then when I watch a different form of media, and that's why, like you say, oh, you're pretty knowledgeable. And it's like, yeah, because I watch these reviewers that say these things, and then I'm like, okay, now I know what I'm looking for. Now I see different things. I understand. So it's like giving me that sort of guideline and basis.
But see, sometimes you'll watch that before you even watch the movie.
Well, it's funny because, for example, like the Star Wars movies, the newer ones, which are god awful. When the Rise of Skywalker came out, I waited for the review that Red Letter Media had, and the top comment was like, "Yo, I'm more excited for the review than the movie because like we want to hear them talk about how shitty it is. It's more entertaining to us than the actual movie."
No, see, for me, I get entertained by myself being like, oh my gosh, this is what I think, and then telling other people. Like, it's just for me, like, no, like I'd rather experience it and go through the emotions of like, oh my god, this is shitty, instead of having someone else do that for me, you know?
Yeah,
I mean, that's what I prefer.
Yeah, I just don't like if it's a shitty movie, I don't want to watch it. I don't want to waste my time with it. I'd
See,
rather.
for me, that's entertaining. Just like, oh my god, this is so bad.
Yeah, because like for us, it's like, oh, like, do you want to see like the Wonder Woman movie? Which, you know, for those who've seen it, it's like everybody says it's fucking god awful. Everybody says it's terrible, and I'm like, cool. I don't want to watch it. You know what I'd rather do? I'd rather be playing video games with my friends instead of watching that. Because to me, I'm like, I'd rather be doing something else that I enjoy than sitting through something that I'm just like, God, just kill me.
I enjoy judging though. Like,
I don't. I'm cool, man.
so much fun.
I'm cool.
Oh,
I don't have
so much
to.
fun. I do.
Yeah.
It fuels me.
I mean, like, man, at work today, I was fucking watching an hour and a half video that this guy named Nokami. Shout out to Nokami. He was in the top 8 East Coast. Or I mean, not top 8. He was in the competition for Dragon Ball Fighters and on the East Coast for the World Championship. And he was doing a video analyzing the new character that just dropped. which was Super Baby 2 for all the Dragon Ball fans out there. It's just an hour-and-a-half video of him just explaining, like, oh, this is what his 5L does, and this is blah, blah, blah. This would be good in this situation and that. And I'm like, oh, that's very interesting.
Entertaining to you?
Yeah, because I'm learning. I'm learning about, okay, now I know how to fight the character, because I don't have the character. I want to know how to fight against them. I want to know what everything can do, so that when I do play against them, I know what I'm in for.
See, for me, it's fun to discover, like, on your own, like, you can do this and this, and after, like, a ton of time working on it, be like, oh, okay, let me just see, like, maybe cheat sheets and stuff, or, like, let me see if there's anything more than I can do after I've experienced it.
No, I just like it, yeah. I'd rather hear and learn all this stuff and be like, oh, okay, cool, like, now I know, like, this stuff and this stuff, because I don't want to lab it myself and fuck around with it and spend money on the character.
Mm-hmm. We're so different.
yeah, for sure.
No,
when it comes
it's
to all
so
that.
funny, yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's where we can end the podcast, because we've been ending.
That
we're
we're so
Over
different?
an hour. That we're so different.
Wow.
And that's okay, because you're a man, I'm a woman. We're opposites.
Yeah.
but
yeah.
two sides of the same coin. But anyways, this has been another episode of the DP Podcast. Thanks, Cammy.
Thank you, Danny.
All right, bye.
Bye.